Hey there, I'm Eric Doggett, and this is Photog TV, hosted by myself and Dustin Meyer. Episode 2 for Thursday, October 6th, 2011, Life and Legacy. We cover the loss of Steve Jobs and the enormous contributions he gave to the world.
So again, just a really quick recap. These are recorded Hangouts, so if you've got a headset, please use them to prevent feedback. If there's somebody's remodeling your house in the background with a lot of noise, we might mute your mic, but don't take it personally. Otherwise, I guess we'll go ahead and get started. Today's episode, we're going to try and cover things like client relationships, dealing with clients, commercial clients, wedding and portrait stuff, but for the first 15 minutes or so, we're going to start doing kind of a news section of what's going on in the digital world. So I guess we'll just kind of open it with the biggest topic of the past 24 hours, which is the passing of a giant, Steve Jobs. So first off, Trey, thank you for posting that image of the Apple Store in New York. That was really, really appropriate. I appreciate that.
Oh, sure. It had a certain pathetic fallacy to the rain and the night and the emptiness and whatnot. So, yeah, I wanted to share it.
Was that a recently captured image, or was that from something a while back?
No, it's not too recent. I mean, probably the past year or so. But yeah, it was. Actually, this whole idea of being sad about it all is interesting. I always wonder, about this idea of grieving and, why are we sad? There's something both community and selfish about it, because it's, I think we kind of feel sad for ourselves in a way that we're going to be denied of, further greatness. And then we also can, coterminously share in this malaise that our fellow man is feeling, because we know they're feeling the exact same thing, and it's strange that you can have the exact same feeling as other people around you, even nearby, like you're watching a sad movie. That's kind of nice to have a shared feeling, but to have an exact same feeling shared by millions of people, that's another order of magnitude. And
it's very rare too.
Yeah, and so who am I? I'm just some artist, and I put up something tiny, my own little contribution to the group Melancholy, and I don't know. It's interesting, but it is overall just very sad.
I think that's that's a good point in the fact that everybody is feeling down, and that now this genius of a guy who started from humble beginnings is now gone from life. But as I was watching the news last night, and also watching everything on Facebook and Twitter and Google Plus, I started thinking about okay, what have I done with my life for the people around me that are special to me, and what's taking me so long, or making me put off the goals that I've always wanted to achieve. And so in a way, it's kind of been like a good kick in the pants for me to kind of realize that there's really no need to keep putting things off, or to deny myself the there's just no excuse to not go for the things that I've been wanting to do. So for me, it's kind of been sad, but at the same time, I think it's a good motivator for all of us, especially in the creative community, to realize that there really is something positive to believing in yourself and what you say, and putting yourself out there without regard for criticism, and being true to your own sense of creativity, because putting it out there, things will come to you, things will happen to you.
And then something I wanted that kind of struck me was that you have this scenario where they have a keynote event, and everyone's in a way kind of ripping him a little bit for this product launch, not kind of living up to what they had hoped it would be with the potential of a new phone. And when he's he's dying less than 24 hours away, you got to know at that point at the keynote that everybody there who's presenting is feeling a sort of weight that it will never lift easily or ever, and to think that they are putting on the best face to do the best they can do, knowing that, to me was kind of striking. I think you even saw like Robert Scoble put a post on Google Plus about that, saying that he felt he was in the camp of people that were kind of underwhelmed by their announcement, but now taking in the scope of what was truly going on, he even just went out to apologize basically and said, he feels for something for that team and that family there of what they're going through.
Yeah, totally. I put up a little post just because I realized that, being like from the generation I am, that I've never known a world without Apple in it. And that I used to, do my homework on a little 2CX when I was really little, and and being a musician, I think for a lot of us who are artists and musicians, Steve's creations give us the tools to create for ourselves, and create the world that we want to see and live in. And I don't think that that's an overstatement, so I think maybe we just, I said in the post something to the effect of like, now I hope we can create in his image, and keep going. But I definitely think that, we were crying, it was really shocking and strange. And, I'm surrounded by Apple stuff everywhere, and it's the stuff that I need to do what I do. I can go and stand out in a field and sing, but I can't sing for you guys without a MacBook and iTunes and, all of, an iPod for you guys to listen to it on, and an iPhone to call you and do a hangout. And, so it's amazing how much you can touch people with the stuff you create. And I think he did that, just about as good as anybody ever.
And it really is. When you look at it in the tech field right now, there really is nobody leading a company right now that can kind of carry that torch the way he did. There are certainly executives that are good at different aspects of running a company, but when you take somebody who A, knows the technology, B, knows how to design it, and then C, knows how to package it and sell it, that's very rare to find one person that has all of that, right. Let alone a whole company that can rally behind that too.
And that charisma is just completely undeniable. It was just so. I was actually looking through my closet to see if I had a black turtleneck and jeans to wear today. He's just way too cool.
He was the technological Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. Because it's one of those things that a lot of people didn't really expect. It's like for the people who, when you watch what he was doing, it was all about he took technology and made it a show. Mm-hmm. That's the part that I digged about it. Technology's technology, and we live with it, and we adapt with it, and we wonder about worlds where it's not around. But for me, what I thought was really, really cool was that he put on the show. You were excited. Like, I remember for the first time, like when Gizmodo leaked the iPhone 4, and there was a really cool article about the background behind all of that stuff. One of the things that kind of ticked me off about it, I thought, was the fact that there was a certain amount of Christmas effect that you had when you saw like a keynote, when he turned around and he was just like, all right, this is what I've been doing, and this is what it's going to be like. And there was that kind of anticipation. And there was that, a lot of people called it hype. A lot of people called it reality distortion. But there was that Christmas effect that people had with his technology, and to be able to feel technology at that level, I thought was really, really interesting.
Well, RC, you put up a post, didn't you? An image of your daughter playing with an iPad that you sent to him?
Yeah,
And
that
he
was
actually
cool.
wrote back to you, right?
Yeah. I thought that was pretty cool. It was and and this is, I'm coming from a person. I've always been very kind of middle of the road when it comes to this stuff. Like I've used, like I have an Android. I use Dell. I use both Mac and PC at the same time. And as much as I've always given them credit for doing a lot of these things, I've kind of just tried to sit in the middle of the road. Tried to be very, very temperate in a lot of my responses. But when we got an iPad to be able to play with, and it was actually a loaner iPad at that. I remember I was very, very cool about it. I was like, if I gave it back, it probably wouldn't kill me. But then as it stayed with us longer and longer and longer, I remember I would look over at my daughter, and my daughter, she wasn't even 2 at the time, I don't think. And she would grab it, and she was just flying on it. I mean, she would like you could give it to her shut, the case is shut, and she would turn around and she would grab it, press the button, unlock it, navigate to her page of apps. Like she knew there was daddy's page and there was these people's pages, and she would swipe and she would move stuff. She would get to the apps that she wants to get to. She would turn them on, and then she would sit there and she would play. And she's not even 2. And I'm sitting, and people are like, oh my God, she's so bright. And I'm like, no, not really. She's 2. She's not really all that bright. But this speaks a lot to how sometimes the coolest part about art is just chiseling away through all of the bullshit. It's like chiseling away through all of the stuff, all of the bells and the whistles, and bringing the experience down to its most common denominator. And if you can bring it down to that and you can still make it cool, then you're aces on 2 parts. And I saw her, and she was using this iPad, and she was sitting there, and I grabbed my camera, and the picture sucked because it was just really noisy and all that stuff. And I did something in Photoshop, and I was like, you know what? It looks a lot like a painting. I was like, you know what? Let me send it to him. This was right around the time that Gizmodo, I felt like there were all these people that were just kind of like sending emails to him because he was very famous for responding to emails. And then people would grab the emails and be like, look, we pissed off Steve Jobs. And they would put them up there. And I was just like, listen, for what it's worth, I was like, this is who we are. You kind of know what we do. This isn't a, you need a response. You don't need this. You don't need that. I was like, you're catching a lot of heat in a lot of different spots. I just wanted to be able to show you why I've become a bit of a fan for this. And I was just like, it's because of her. I was like, the fact that you could impact her life in such a way means that you made a magical device. And I was like, for that, I just want to thank you. And I sent him that shot. So I sent him that shot, and I was just like, you know what? I'm not sending it to, I could care less if he responds. But I sat there, and all of a sudden my phone went off, and it was like, 40 minutes later, did I get an email back from him, and he was just like, hey, do you have a high-res shot of this that you can send me? And I was like, sure, cool. I sent it out, and it never really mattered like what came of it, but it was the other part that I got from all of that stuff was the fact that despite how committed, despite how passionate, he was always at the wheel. He was at the wheel, like there was no denying. I remember when he sent out that the email that said that he was no longer in charge. Horrible as I thought, I thought we'd hear that he died the next day, because I thought he would be the guy that he would not leave that wheel. And when he sent that message, I was just like, he's not going anywhere. Something happened. He's not going anywhere. Something's up. And it lasted a little bit longer, and it's just crazy. It's just a crazy experience. Here, I'll link over the blog post on the left.
I think that's a really good point to make, RC, when it comes to not just how stay true to your vision, but at the same time, I think it also shines a light on the way that you work with people to make something come to light. I think that yes, he's a leader. I've heard stories about how he would go on tirades on people about, making sure that things were perfect or a certain way. But it's because he was so passionate about making sure that his idea, that his vision was brought to light, but at the same time, yes, he's the head of the company, but I always, from my friends that worked for him, always heard stories like it was always a collaborative effort. It wasn't a top-down kind of system where you've got your boss at the top and then everybody else on the bottom. It was always, pulling ideas, discussing things, hashing things out together, all with interpreting the same vision. And I think that is something that when it comes to, pushing forward, a lot of people tend to forget. We get really bullheaded about the stuff that we're passionate about because it's very, personal to us. However, at the same time, keeping our eyes and ears open for feedback from our followers or for the people that work with us, our colleagues, is just as important, so that you're not going blind out there. You're actually, pulling in feedback, getting new ideas, because you can't dream up everything by yourself.
Yeah. It's just wild. Yeah. It's just a crazy time. Hey Trey, what's going on, bro? I didn't have a chance to say what's up.
There was something that struck me that's kind of
IRC.
kind of interesting. The fact that he passed away like 24 hours after a keynote reminded me of if you follow American history at all, there was something kind of similar that happened with like Thomas Jefferson and John Adams, where they died within hours of each other. Yeah. Exactly. What was it? On the 4th of July, 50 years exactly. I think it was 50 years exactly after the Declaration of Independence was signed. I think that's right. Something like that. But it was within hours, and they then become linked to American history in yet another way. And so it just popped in my mind. It was like, this is like, he is inexorably tied to technology and the way the show, as RC puts it, and I don't know what more fitting way, I guess, maybe than right near a keynote like that to move on.
Life has a funny way of being poetic like that. You'd be surprised as to like how many things happen poetically with things like that. It's cool. I mean, it's hard. It's almost morbid to say that it's cool, but it is cool that these things happen in these kinds of circumstances. The only part that sucks about it is that sometimes I feel like we're always moved to be able to talk about these things well after the fact. Mm-hmm. Like nobody's moved to be able to talk about this stuff, or very few people, I think, are moved to be able to talk about this stuff when they're living. Not that many people turn around and send an email to people and go, you know what, man, dude, thanks. Good job on you. Good job on you for pushing this fight, or for fighting this thing, or and I think that if there's a message, I mean, there's all these messages that they have, and there's all these messages that these things have, and it's like, stay hungry, stay true, stay this, or do that. But if there's one message that I personally am left with, is just this entire thing about the immediacy of talking to people and how they impact you today. There isn't a day that doesn't go by that goes, man, I just got to tell you that I value this, and I just got to tell you that I value, and maybe it's just, I'm just like overly personal about it. Like October 4th, 12 years ago, right? So it was my birthday, October 4th, that's 2 days ago. And my dad passed away on my birthday 12 years ago. And it was one of those things where it's just like, it always reminds you how fragile everything is, and how you all of a sudden, you'll look at the following day after something like that happens, the world just doesn't look like, you just want it to look the same. And it's not that you're sitting around and going that, that it's hokey and, this has impacted me. It's just, you just try and it just doesn't look the same. And you can't piece it together, and you can't figure it out, and you can't make any sense of what this all means. And you can go back and listen through his messages and listen through the commencement speeches and try to be able to find things to be able to pull out of your life. But I was talking to somebody this morning about it, and they're like, well, what do you do? What do you take? And I'm like, you take the living, you talk to the people, that matter to you the most, and you turn around and you go, you know what, man, thanks. That was really cool that you did that. You send an email to a person and you go, thanks. And you go, you know what? And not blowing smoke, but you turn around and you look at like the people like Trey and you go, you know what, dude? I think it's freaking cool that you post pictures and you don't want a damn thing in return. I think it's freaking cool that you go out there and you do these things and you give me really, really cool desktop wallpapers. I think that's I think that's pretty cool. And you say that stuff because you never know when you get a chance not to, and you never, people need to know that they impact. People need to know that they matter.
You never take anything for granted.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same thing with Daria and so many other artists on the internet, because the thing is, you just go out and you just, you share openly and you give of yourself, and you don't worry about all the commercial nonsense. And then if people want to, they find a way to take care of you. It's just like being how every now and then, this is maybe a ridiculous analogy, but maybe you're at a restaurant and then you have like a waiter, and like the waiters like really like serving you. They're just really getting something out of it. They get a great reaction. It reminds me of this is maybe even a worse analogy, but when you fly on like Asian airlines, like really nice Asian airlines, like Malaysian Airlines or Singaporean Airlines or whatever, the stewardesses there, they are so they're gracious, they're so nice, and they just love serving you. I mean, there's something, they just get so much out of the interaction. It's a huge bonus for their day. I mean, you don't tip them, you don't do anything, and it's just so different than I think what we're used to often, where people like do stuff because it's their job, or they're paid to do it, or they're obligated to do it, and they might pretend to be nice about it, but you can tell they don't really. So anyway, so I see people like Daria and you and all these other artists that just like openly sharing and giving of themselves, because there is that is an end to itself.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Jay. Yeah, I think it's amazing, on forums like this, we create this sort of positive feedback loop of inspiration, and we're all just inspiring each other. I'm so inspired looking at your work and looking at everything that everybody's posting, and it's so beautiful to get to interact. I think that interaction, that excitement of like getting a hit off of just being able to communicate with people, that's something that I've definitely been just really feeding off of and feeling, and just getting to talk to you guys, and even just getting to be here now and talk about something, that just happened and how we feel. And it's a really beautiful, it's a really beautiful opportunity. And I think we have the opportunity, like what RC is saying, to really turn around and thank each other and on a daily basis. And I see that happening all the time, and it's really exciting and really moving. And I think it does feed all of us and give us a chance to keep giving and creating more, and just be brave and bold and go for it, which is something that was so cool about Steve, And it was funny, I was going to say the one thing that struck me yesterday was I've caught myself thinking, like, could this be like the Dalai Lama? Like, can we go find, like, we need to have that set up for this. Like, can we go find Steve? Yeah, or something. Or, is there a little Steve somewhere? I was wishing that there was a team of llamas already on the move, But.
Well, it was interesting that they ran the Sikorsky Harrison movie last night. And
what? George Harrison.
Yeah, and it's just sort of struck me because when
Martin Scorsese, you said Sikorsky. I was like,
Sikorsky, yeah, he's an airport, right? it just struck me because I felt the same when George Harrison died. It was it just struck me, and it was part of my history just sort of wiped out. To figure out what that would be like, and I thought it was sort of interesting watching. At one point, Harrison said something about the Beatles had made all this money, and they finally realized that that wasn't it for them, and then they went on, to find their spiritual quest. And I think what Steve did was pretty amazing. I think he gave everybody the ability to play, to play whatever your creative thing was. Like usually it's you either have talent or you don't get that opportunity.
Yeah.
But if you look at all the stuff that he made, that's basically what we do is we play with it. even though it helps us work and whatever. So whether it's music or art or photography, anybody can do it. It gives everybody a chance to participate, which I think encourages the fact that there is genius in everybody instead of limitation based on, you know.
On that, like talking about the playing and tying it in with what RC was saying earlier. So this morning I had the TV on before my son's school. He's 6, and the story was on about Steve, and so I didn't plan on really saying anything, but I just looked over to Brandon. I said, do you don't know who Steve is, but he's the guy that makes all of the computers and the stuff we get to play with. And I said he died and went to heaven. And he looked at me and he looked at TV and he said, well, what are they gonna? Who are they gonna stop making them? And I said, no, he's put together great people. They're gonna continue to make them. But it made me think that how cool is it that the same things that I use to work are the exact same things that my children used to play. And then when we're outside of our little areas, that in a way kind of brings us together because we have that in common. And it's a tool that can be very productive, and it's a tool that can be very playful, and that appeals to generationally, just not older people, but 4 and 6-year-olds.
I just wanted to speak up for Jen because her mic and her camera aren't working because she's at work and she's, sneaking into a hangout during her lunch break, I assume. Jen's a local Austin photographer as well. She's amazing. She's a good friend. But I think that she brought up a good point, 2 points actually, and I want to make sure this gets in the recording. Originally, she said that estate planning attorneys, these are people that are writing up all the legal stuff for what happens after you die, like wills and trusts and things like that. Statistics show that people will live until just after some kind of holiday, like Christmas or something like that, and then choose to die afterwards, shortly thereafter. So they want to stick around for that holiday, whether it's Christmas or Hanukkah, or with RC's dad passing. It's like they want to hold on for that one last cathartic family moment before they leave. And then the next thing that she brought up, which happened to me too when my grandmother passed away a couple of years ago, but she wanted to wait around until after I'd finished singing for my son's baptism. But the other point that Jen brought up was about the iPhone 4S. A lot of people, I think, were hoping for the iPhone 5. And then when the iPhone 4S came out, I think a lot of people were kind of disappointed. They were expecting something bigger. But, obviously, as we've seen with history, people will hang on until something big happens, and then if they have the choice to die, whether it's spiritually or whatever, then they'll leave after they'll leave this realm after something big happens. And so maybe there's something there with the new device that we're not seeing yet, but time will tell. It'll play itself out, and again we'll look back and think, wow, this guy really knew what he was doing, or he knew exactly what to go for. Looking at all the things that Apple's created, I think it's a big point to bring out that Apple really never created anything that was original. What they did was they saw what was currently out there and saw what could be popular, and then really improved upon it, made it cool, made it sexy, made it creative. And MP3 players were already out, phones were already out, computers were already out, but he put his own spin on it and brought it forward. I think that I think that one of the things that, well, I'll just stop talking. I think you guys get the point. I'll open it up for someone else.
Aww.
I think it's wild. Just the impact. I guess that's the part that I still kind of just get stuck with, is just the impact of so many different places and so many different things over just technology. And I think that the coolest part about everybody being so negative about the iPhone 4S is that the only person who could beat Steve Jobs was Steve Jobs. Like, it's like he literally, like, they just announced the fact that there's a phone that has like twice as fast of a processor, 60% better camera, 73% better light, and people are like,
And you can ask it questions.
All right.
Like any kinds of
And
questions.
it will text.
It's like, all right. It's like, well, does it have unicorn dust? No.
Yeah.
Does it have it? And it's like, it's and once you step back from all of that stuff and you take a look at it, you turn around and you're like, man, this guy actually created something really, really cool. Because that is such a high bar for somebody to turn around and go. Like anybody would turn around and you know, as a Droid user, it's like Droid 2. Okay, twice as fast. Ooh, love it. Gotta give me one of those. You know, camera, twice as fast. Ooh, love it. Gotta give me one of those. It's like, all right, well, here you go. iPhone, twice as fast. Yeah, you know, I was expecting amazing. And to be able to set that kind of bar is kind of like playing after Clapton. It's like, you know, he does an awesome solo and you turn around and you go, dude, this is going to be really hard shoes. But,
Well, then a lot of times we don't even know. It's like when the iPad came out, I was like, probably a lot of people looked at it and said, I have no use for that. Why would I need that? I'm not going to do anything with that.
and that's the part, like the part that I was the part that I started digging about this was when you find out that you actually need something that you didn't think you need, or you find a use to be able to do that. Like one of the coolest things that I thought about the entire keynote was the entire iCard thing. Like there were probably a whole bunch of people sitting at Hallmark going, "Ow, what the hell did we do?" I'm like, dude, you weren't even picking on me. I'm like, what's this? And it's like, and you sit there and you're like, he's not making something that's like $500. He made something that was like $3. And I remember like looking, like I went back and I took a look at the notes and I took a look at what he was doing with this card thing. And I was like, that's freaking brilliant. I was like, that's too cool, because you know what? I hate going to Hallmark. I was like, I hate having to go to the mall and go downstairs and get the card and look at all that kind of stuff. But I miss sending a card to somebody.
Yeah,
Like, I
that
miss
was
the old-fashioned letter type thing. And all right, well, I'm not, my handwriting sucks now, but to be able to kind of bridge that gap just a little bit, I was like, that's cool. I was like, good on you. That's really, really cool. And it's those kinds of moments that I think that we're gonna, you know.
There was a comic that went around on some social networks that showed it. It was kind of funny. It showed it like maybe 15 years ago. This guy or someone getting a card in the mail, and then the person next to him was be like, "Oh, that's not cool. Look, I got an email instead. Why would I want to mess with that?" And now suddenly the cool thing is to not get an email, but rather get a printed card, which is a little bit more personal.
Yeah, and I was actually just thinking of this because I'm always trying to come up with creative things for new gadgets and stuff. But I mean, how cool would it be to be, you know, I shoot weddings and senior portraits and stuff like that. But I mean, how cool would it be to be at a wedding, take a picture either with your camera or with your iPhone of the bride and groom at the ceremony, and then be able to send them a congratulatory card immediately from your phone and just say, you know, congratulations on getting married, and include a picture that you just snapped from shooting their wedding. I mean, right there, and they get the card before they even get back from their honeymoon. I mean, I think
At their honeymoon.
or yeah, they get it at their honeymoon, exactly. But I mean, I think that's one of the things. It's like taking something creative, like, you know, this app or this device, and making humanism cool again. You know, something where it's kind of pulling us out of our, you know, social media shells and kind of making it cool again to actually interact with people, whether it's through a computer or whether it's in person, but just reminding us that we're all here for a reason, if it is only to just remind people that they mean something.
Yeah. I think it's doing those kinds of things where it's coming from a place of this comes from the heart, and this is, you know, something that means something, as opposed to, oh, this is something that will sell. Like, I don't see another company like thinking that the iCards are like a big moneymaker. Like, that's an important thing that people need right now. They're not going to look at the current landscape and say, what people need is letterpress, beautiful letterpress cards, you know. But it's that attention to the beauty detail that I know really inspires me as an artist. Not just when I'm using the stuff, but just, you know, that I think, a lot of us artists have that same little hint of perfectionism, you know, and wanting to make things really beautiful and to get it down to its finest little point, and to see someone do that so beautifully over such a long period of time is so inspiring and cool, you know. And I think, you know, none of us really maybe need the reminder, but maybe people who are leading big corporations sometimes need the reminder to, you know, do something because it's meaningful and because it's coming from the heart, not just because you think it's going to sell or something. And I think, I mean, we're talking through a product like that right now. I mean, I think Google is like the other one up there for me with Apple, of like doing things because they're cool. And then you find out later that it's super popular, you know, but it's because it's touching you and because it came from a different kind of a decision, I think. You can always smell that sort of on a company when they're trying to be down with the kids, or, you know, something.
So
on
I'm gonna put in a request. So I specifically asked Daria to join in our hangout today, even though this is mostly a hangout for photographers, especially after it was almost like she read my mind when she shared the link with the video that they just put out earlier today. So I think a lot of what we've been talking about as far as karma and also just not taking things for granted, I think that, you know, her their new song that they just produced was really, really poignant on those points. So, Daria, would you grace us with singing that for us here on the Hangout?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Would you guys be able to do that for us? Because I would love to hear that.
Cool. Yeah. So this is a song that we wrote a little while ago called "Ordinary Town," and I posted a video of it today on my Google Plus page, and it's on my YouTube. And I'm Daria Musk, if you're watching and you have no idea who that girl is. And maybe we can post the link or something. Hey, it's Samantha. And yeah, so I just posted a video of this song, and I think one cool thing, I'm sure you guys probably, I would actually love to hear about that afterward, after I sing, if you find that maybe sometimes when you take a photo, does it take on more meaning later after something else happens or something like that. And this song was taken on a new meaning for us yesterday when we were watching, you know, what was going on with Occupy Wall Street and all of that stuff. And so anyway, yeah, it's called Ordinary Town, and this is the song. We'll just get set up.
Yeah, put your reverb on.
Yeah.
Okay.
You good? You could be big, you could be small, you could be any size at all. Yeah, you know. You could be rich, you could be poor, you could be fighting in a war. Yeah, you know. You could be young, you could be old, could be more than a story told. Yeah, you know. 'Cause it's about this ordinary town. It's about this ordinary town. It's about this ordinary town. It's about this ordinary. It could be hot, it could be cold, you could be bought, you could be sold. Yeah, you know. It could be night, it could be day, you could leave or you could stay. Yeah, you know. You could have tried so long to hide your beauty, just get me inside. Yeah, you know. 'Cause it's about this ordinary town. It's about this ordinary town. It's about this ordinary town. It's about this ordinary. And I'll be the sky, so blue it'll daze your eye. You be the city, burning bright. Tight shine on the window of your house, the camera zooms out. You see the stars, really not that far from all you need to know. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hey, yeah. Oh, you could be scared, you could be brave, you could be digging your own grave. But yeah, you know. Could be alone, could be in love, and it could fit just like a glove. Yeah, you know. You want it so bad, the thing you couldn't have. Yeah, you know. 'Cause it's about this ordinary town. 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 This ordinary town. This ordinary life. Just take a look around. These things don't happen twice. This ordinary city right underneath our feet. This ordinary sky, it's looking down at me. This ordinary love, this ordinary school, this ordinary me, this ordinary you. Oh, no, no, don't do. 'Cause it's about this ordinary town. It's about this ordinary town. It's about this ordinary town. It's about this ordinary. Hey, yeah.
Wow, that was amazing.
Yay!
Oh, thank you.
That was great.
Thank you so much for sharing
Thank
that,
you guys so much.
Thank you so much.
That was awesome.
Thank you.
Wow.
That's the biggest surprise. I didn't know this was happening in here. I just popped in.
RC, you just missed it, man.
No, dude, I was here. You know what?
Okay.
I was here the entire time. I'm just sitting here. I put myself down because I didn't want to necessarily just be sitting there just gawking. I was like,
I got a screenshot. Can I draw you while you were singing? Can I do it?
What?
Okay. I got a screenshot. Can I draw you while I'm chilling in here? Is
Yeah,
that okay?
of course. Oh my God, you know I love when you draw.
I love it.
Thank you, everybody, so much. Thank you, Jen.
Thank
I see the
you.
clap, clap.
oh yeah, no, it was really cool. It was just I was sitting there and I'm watching this thing and I'm like, oh, this is great. And then I'm like, you know what? Let me just kind of mute myself. Let me go ahead and just take care of all and just kind of enjoy it. It was kind of like one of those, like a private concert.
That's great.
Yeah.
I think we should have Daria to close out every episode of this show.
No kidding.
No
Can
problem.
you turn out songs like every week?
Yeah, every
That's,
week.
Yeah,
New
yeah.
song.
He turns out like symphonies every day, and I can definitely do a song a week for it.
There you go. Daria becomes like the house band for the show.
Take it away, Daria.
It's my pleasure. I'm so grateful to have people to sing for and to share stuff with and be inspired by, and that. Oh, what's in it? Oh, and that song in particular, yeah, we wrote it with New York in mind. Hi. And the first time we played that in the city, we were playing like a rock club. I don't know if you guys know the Mercury Lounge, and It was packed because we were opening for someone more popular than us, but there was really like a hush and a really electric energy that happened when we sang that. And after the show, this big guy's like 7 feet tall came up to me afterward and was like, "I was crying." Like, but as a singer, you for songs like that, my voice teacher always tells me he's proud of me because I tend to write in the places that are the most difficult to live in as a singer, and it sort of, I think, unconsciously pushes you to a place where you have to be incredibly raw and present to be able to deliver, and I think people like Bono do that a lot. You like can't hit some of those notes unless you're really 100% committed and in the story and in your heart. And yeah, I was like, the hair stands up on my arm when I do that one. But yeah.
Well, guys,
there's a lot of this guy too.
It's Ram, right?
Ram.
I'm gonna get it right one of these days.
Yeah. It's or Rich or whatever. Right?
It doesn't matter. Yeah. She speaks for me.
No.
Well, guys, we appreciate all of your time today. We're coming up on an hour, so it's about time for us to wrap it up. As a little side note, this episode will be posted tomorrow at photog.tv. It'll just we'll have a link there directly to the YouTube if you've just joined in and you want to hear. We originally planned to talk about photography and working with clients, but
that did not happen. Something much better happened.
Yeah, we had a great discussion about life and Steve Jobs and our own families, and then Daria closed it out with a beautiful song. Daria, how can people hear more of your music? I know you've got a couple songs on iTunes. Where else can they pick up some stuff?
Yeah, well, our very first EP of singles is out on iTunes and Amazon. And then again, my name is Daria Musk. So, but also YouTube, you can listen to stuff. You can see a video that we just did of that song that we just sang. There's also, just Google us. DariaMusk.com has all the links and stuff. And we're working on the first full-length album now, and so that's gonna be coming out. And yeah, there'll be lots of stuff from us, and obviously Google Plus, so we can sing for you in a hangout concert. Our big fourth hangout concert is going to be coming up soon. I'm going to announce the date soon.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting us. It was really a pleasure.
Sure, it was a great time.
Thank you for participating. It also helps us too, so we don't have to come up with original material. We'll just have Daria come in and bring in the crowd. So
there you go.
Just as a reminder, photog.tv, Eric started it and I help with it, and so we meet every Thursday here on Google Plus at noon Central Standard Time. So and for anyone who misses out, we always post them on YouTube the next day. But connect with us, follow us, and any questions or topics that you guys want to talk about, photography related or otherwise, you can shout it out at us at Photog TV on Twitter, or Dustin Meyer or Eric Doggett.
Yep. Perfect. All right. Well, thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.